Hello and welcome to Hyrulean Chronicles, a podcast from the Play Talk Repeat crew, where we review and go in depth on the story of the entire Legend of Zelda timeline. I'm Oliver, and I'm joined by Lewis and Alex.
Hello.
Hello.
So this episode, we're continuing to go down the Fallen Hero timeline with Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, which were originally released in 2001 on the Game Boy Color. So we've kind of split the responsibility this episode. So me and Alex have played Oracle of Seasons, and Lewis has played Oracle of Ages because it was deemed that they were too similar for us to play both of them. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And timing wise.
I don't think that's true though anymore.
I don't think it's true anymore. I'm going to have to play Oracle of Ages. I'm going to have to play it, but for the sake of this podcast, we've done one. So I'm just going to go through there's only a brief bit of story between A Link to the Past and the Oracle games, so I'm just going to go through that. So at the end, at Ganon's defeat, try that for a third time. After Ganon's defeat at the end of A Link to the Past, his surrogate mothers, known collectively as Twin Rover, plotted to revive him. In order to do this, they needed 3 sacred flames. To collect these flames, they sent out Onox, the General of Darkness, to the land of Holodrum, and Varan, Sorceress of Shadows, to Labrina. One day when Link visited Hyrule Castle, the Triforce beckoned him, and once he touched it, it transported him to the distant land of Holodrum. So, that's it. That's the story between the two games. I don't know if this is the same Link as A Link to the Past or not. I've not got a clue. It's not very clear. But opening statement time. So can we give you a brief summary of what you thought about the game that you played, as well as your rating, please? Let's start with Lewis, since his was different.
So to be very brief about it, I thought the game was mostly fun. I think giving it to Capcom was a really good move on Nintendo's part, because I feel like they added a lot to the game and made it a lot. They made it different in a lot of ways that I thought were fun and deserved, coming from the previous one, since we'd been doing the same thing for so long. I will give it a 6.5.
A 6.5. We don't do
Yes.
split scores on Play Talk.
You don't do 0.5.
I want a round number.
I don't want to quite give it a 7 though, but I don't think it's deserving of a 6.
So it's a 6.
No, I just said I don't think it's deserving of a 6.
Right,
But you're the one that's always said we're not doing points.
Okay, right. Okay, I'm gonna. You can have a 6.5, but in my head, and I'm sure in Alex's head, it will be a 7.
Okay.
Which is fine. Alex, Oracle of Seasons.
Oracle of Seasons is a game. No, it was a good time for the Game Boy Color. Like it definitely pushed the Game Boy like past its limits, I'd say. It was a fun enough time for thinking apart from like the later half of the game. I'd say I'd give it a solid 6.
Solid 6, right? So I've given it a 7 out of 10. I really thought that it ate the Link to the Past for its proverbial breakfast and shut it out. It was so much better in every way.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if it's controversial. I thought this was much better than A Link to the Past by a long shot.
By a damn mile. It was just great. It just felt different. It felt like an actual slight evolution of the formula, and it was really good. And I really like what they did, like combining 2 games in order to create one cohesive story across them both. It's really, really great. So graphically, I know it's a Game Boy Color game, but what do we think exactly?
I think it still holds up really well.
Yeah.
When I was looking at images online, it gave me the Game Boy Color vibes, which a lot of Game Boy Color games don't particularly look great anymore. I think that they're okay, because at the end of the day, it's like pixel art, and pixel art always like ages relatively fine. But just something about the way the Game Boy Color looks specifically, compared to like the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance, I just think it looks very odd. But I think this game honestly looks fantastic for being on the Game Boy Color. And I honestly kept forgetting I was playing a Game Boy game a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like in my head, it was just like I'm playing like an SNES game or something like that. I genuinely kept forgetting that it was a Game Boy game. You could see it was limited by the way like the screens moved and stuff, because it was like individual screens. And it wasn't like a cohesive, you could move all the way from one side of the town to the other. You had to literally go through each big square. But outside of that, yeah, I thought it was really, 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 it looked really good, and it was it was designed really well. Like the whole world was designed really well for a handheld game.
Yeah, no, it
I
really
thought it was
was.
very, very good.
Alex?
I touched on it before, but it obviously pushed the Game Boy past its limits. I really liked the different environments and stuff, especially with us playing seasons, all the different seasons. You could tell what season you were in, just despite with the colors, for example. I really liked the other world as well. What's it called again, Oliver?
I don't know. It's gone. It's
So
It's gone out of my head.
Subakion or something?
Subrosia.
Subrosia, that's it. Like you could tell that was like another like realm that you were in because of like the different colors and like oh shit, like you're in like a red area. Like what is this? But yeah, I really liked. Obviously, yeah, it was on the Game Boy, so like having to like go through all these different screens and stuff. Like you could tell, like oh yeah, I'm playing a Game Boy game. But other than that, it looked amazing.
Yeah, it's funny when you think about it, especially seasons, because I know, as far as I'm aware, Oracle of Ages only has 2 different time periods, right, Lewis?
Yeah, pretty much when you go back in time, everything just becomes brown.
Right.
That's sort of what happens.
So seasons has essentially like 5, including Subrosia worlds kind of thing, where everything's different. Well, it was impressive in A Link to the Past where they had these 2 worlds built on top of each other. So essentially, they had to create 2 worlds. With Oracle of Seasons, there's actually 5 of them because you got your spring, summer, autumn, winter, and you've got your Subrosia as well, which are all very vastly different kind of thing.
So can you forcibly change the season?
Yes.
I assume.
You just have to go onto a tree stump.
Yeah, go on the tree stump, change it with the order seasons, and it changes in order, so you get spring, summer, autumn, winter in that order. So graphically for me, so it turns out I'm into Game Boy Color graphics. Like who knew? It looks really good, and I wasn't expecting the Game Boy games graphics to age quite as well as they have done. But again, it looks really, really good. Like we play. I mean, I played it on the 3DS. What did you guys play on?
3DS.
I played it on an emulator.
An emulator. So yeah, it does. On the 3DS, it looks really good. I wouldn't quite pass for a game today, but as for the time, it's great. The only time where I thought it looked like it aged more was when the text boxes came up, when someone was speaking.
Yeah.
That looked like proper old school because you can only fit so much text on the screen, obviously, because the Game Boy Color originally had a very small screen. Do you have any glaring issues with the game? So obviously we're rated at 7s and 6s, so they can't be perfect. So what are your issues with the game that you played, Lewis?
Honestly, I think my main issues with the game are a lot of the puzzles, at least on my end. Not all of them. There were definitely a couple dungeons where some of the things it wanted me to do, I just wouldn't have been able to figure out by myself. Like I used a guide while playing this game, for a lot of it. But there was some stuff that was like so ridiculous to the point where it was like, how do you expect anyone to actually figure out how to do this unless they spend 10 hours just running into like every single like pixel in this room to like figure out what to do. But that seems to be like a glaring issue with a lot of these Zelda at least these 2D ones anyway. I guess it was just during a period where they wanted you to buy guides or they just didn't give a shit about people's time. Like I don't know which one it is. But a lot of them seem to suffer from that problem. Outside of that, I'm struggling to think of any like major glaring issues. Like the control scheme again was a bit annoying, but it was limited by the fact that it literally had 2 buttons. It had fucking A and B. So I don't know I can't ask for anything else really. I thought for the most part it worked fairly well and changing items wasn't too annoying. But obviously, like as we are now, it is an issue when you've played games that obviously have much better control schemes. You have 9,000 buttons on your controller, but at the same time, it isn't the game's fault. That's just like an issue of the game being old. It's a game of its time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think there's any like major issues that I can think of outside of that. Just mainly that some puzzles are just bollocks. But I have heard the puzzles are worse in seasons in terms of like really not knowing what to do. Since mine is like entirely focused on puzzles, I feel like they were probably made a lot better than the one in seasons because I was looking online and I saw a lot of people complaining that a lot of the puzzles in the seasons are actually just bollocks and you wouldn't be able to figure it out like in the slightest. So I think I probably had it slightly better than you guys in regards to that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well, to be honest with you. So, Alex, glaring issues, you gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. I'd say mainly like dungeons are probably fine. Anytime you're out of the dungeon, like how are you meant to figure out where you're meant to go really? Like you'll get like one little bit of dialogue being like, "Oh, you need to go over here." It's like, "All right, cool." But there's like different like places for me to go. Like I had one issue where because with the strange flute, you was meant to get like three of them to get all the different animals. So you had Dimitri,
You can only get one,
Ricky.
as far as I
No,
know.
no, you can get more than one.
No, you can only get
You
one.
can only get one.
No,
I tried doing this because I looked through the guide and it blocked me off from getting
Yeah,
getting
the
another
guide
one.
specifically said
Really?
this is where
Yeah.
you make a critical decision. You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
choose which one you want for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so it's like if you get the first one, so I just got the first one the guide told me to get, and then as I read on, is like, well, now I'm blocked off from getting the other one, so the guide pretty much
Yeah.
made the decision for me.
Because it doesn't matter
Really?
which one you
Okay.
get. It's mainly just personal preference and which one you think is the coolest. But like,
Yeah.
you are locked off once you choose one. That's it.
Oh, I got the Dodongo.
Yeah, no, so did I, because that was the
Yeah,
first
same.
one the
Right,
guide
okay.
told me
First
to
one,
get. Yeah,
yeah.
but
Right.
you
Yeah,
could
because
get
I got
Ricky, couldn't
because I got a flute from the dance
yeah,
thing, Oliver,
that's what
and
I got
then
for.
it told me to buy one from the shop, but I'd already gone past that area. And it was like you can't buy it from the shop anymore.
No, yeah,
I thought you
like I
could get
say,
another
yeah,
one.
it locks you out anyway.
Wait,
Uh,
what were
Right.
your
Okay.
animals? Were they different for both of us?
so
No,
we had
Ricky,
the Dodongo, a kangaroo, and
some balloon thing.
yeah, something else.
It's like moosh. It's like a big blue.
That's it.
All right,
Moosh.
okay, they were the same animals. Then okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering.
There
I
was
didn't know
like a
if they were different.
blue thing that like you could grab onto and fly across
Yeah,
gaps.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't even see that
Yeah.
one. I saw Ricky because the story forced you to
You,
speak to
you
Ricky.
had to
Yeah,
use
you will have
Moosh.
seen him. You had to use him to fly over a gap above the city, to like open up a bridge. You had to get like the bridge builder to. Well, I don't know if it's the same for you. You had to get the bridge builder to get. You had to get the bridge builder's workers back so they could build the bridge so you could get across.
That's
That
not
doesn't
in our
say that. Yeah,
game.
that sounds like nonsense to me.
We
To be honest with you.
we Oliver, we had to use Moosh to go up a mountain to get to like the sixth dungeon, I think it was.
I must
Don't
have
remember.
used it
Right,
because not
okay.
remember Moosh at all.
Yeah.
That's late game moosh. My moosh was like after like the second dungeon. So.
Yeah, no, I don't remember Moosh at all. So my issues with the game pretty much it's the same they've been with every 2D Zelda, and the same that's going to be with every other 2D Zelda we got to do. Is it's just not clear where to go for a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
for a lot of the game, and it's I can't. I want it's the 3D Zeldas do it so much better. Where it's just
They
they're
do.
not hand holding. I just want one of the people that you're meant to speak to say, right, you've got to go here. It's mark it on the
Yeah,
map.
And it
they're
It's
just
not.
very
yeah, I was literally about
different.
to say mark it on the map.
Just mark it on the map.
Well, I think that's what I think that's what Link to the Past did fairly well. To be fair, because it
Yeah,
labeled
it
out
did.
all 8 places to go right at the start. And was like, if this is the game, if you want to do like side stuff, like go figure it out. But that's the game. That's where you need to go. Which I did appreciate in A Link to the Past. But yeah, they were just disrespectful back in the 90s. They really just didn't care.
Well, it's just
Like,
it's
at
just
all.
crazy because these games are long enough without
Yes,
without
yeah.
needing to explore everything. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it's fine. So let's get on to the actual story of the game then, as we do on Hyrulean Chronicles. So from this point on, there will be spoilers. There will be a timestamp in the comments to get past them. So seasons is first, by the way. See, you go seasons, then ages. So, upon awakening in Holodrum, Link meets and dances with Din, who turns out to be the titular Oracle of Seasons, until Din is captured by Onox, throwing the seasons of Holodrum into chaos. It's really hard to read this because all the words are nonsense words.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to fix this is to capture the 8 essences of nature scattered around Holodrum in 8 dungeons. Link obtains the mythical Rod of Seasons in order to manipulate the seasons when he obtains each season from Subrosia, kind of like the dark world of Holodrum. So after he's gone through, he's done the 8 dungeons, he's got the 8 essences, he defeats Onox, and Link is magically then transported to the land of Labrina. However, even after Onox's death, the first flame is lit. If you remember, Twin Rover's plan is to light 3 flames in order to revive Ganon. So the first flame is lit with Onyx's death, and Twin Rover's plan is one step closer to succeeding. So onto the story of ages. So upon awakening in Labrynna, Link meets Nehru, the Oracle of Ages, who is singing to animals. Suddenly, Nehru is possessed by Veran, who uses Nehru's power of time travel to go back in time and alter the past, influencing royalty to build the Black Tower. Like in Holodrum, Link must now gather 8 essences this time of time and uses the Harp of Ages to travel back and forth in time in order to challenge Veran and dispel her body from Queen Amber. But again, this was all too late. The second flame is lit. My microphone is turned upside down. So from this point onwards, this is the so you've linked the 2 games, you've completed both of them, Seasons and Ages in order, and then this happens. So in order to light the third and final flame, Twin Rover kidnaps Princess Zelda. This will complete the ritual and light the flame of despair. However, Link challenges Twin Rover and defeats them, causing Twin Rover to sacrifice their bodies to revive Ganon. However, as the ritual was incomplete, Ganon revives as a mindless beast, and Link is able to defeat Ganon and restore peace to Holodrum and Labrynna. Which seems like it'd be pretty cool. So this is why I want to do Ages as well, so I can actually like see that and experience it, kind of thing.
So the Ganon fight is the same as every other Ganon fight, to be fair.
I know, but I want to fight Twin. Honestly, like in any like 3D Zelda that I've played, if you fighting Twin Rover, it's usually my favorite boss fight.
Yeah,
Twin Rover's great. So what do we think of the story?
I think it's which ones are we outside of Ocarina of Time? I think this is by far the best one.
The best one that we've played so far, yeah.
Like, and honestly, for a Game Boy game, I feel like the plot was way more involved and way more dramatic and just, like, interesting overall compared to A Link to the Past, which is on a console. Like, I felt like there was... It didn't bombard you with story and dialogue, but the dialogue and story that it did give you, I just thought was really good, and I genuinely did want to know what happened. Sort of an issue with Zelda games is they say, like, to me anyway, they say, like, keywords, and I sort of, like, get the general gist of what's going on. I'm like, yeah, yada, 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 I get it. But with this, I felt like all the story that it introduced was actually new, and I hadn't actually heard any of it before. So I was genuinely interested in what was going on. And like I said before, I think that was purely because they gave it to Capcom, and I think giving it to Capcom was just a really good idea overall. Like, I think it did a lot for this game. I think if Nintendo made this game, I don't think I would have liked it like anywhere near as much, because I think it would have just been exactly like A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been very boring.
They did Minish Cap as well, Capcom, didn't they?
I was literally about to bring that up.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I just want to say real quick as well. Yeah. So the story was really good, but also just a bunch of the side stuff as well. I felt like there was a lot of humor added into it.
Yeah.
And it actually was fun speaking to the side characters. Like there was a fucking, I don't know if it was the same for you. There was a side quest. So for the trading, you had to like trade up to get the noble sword, I think it is. One of the quests was you had to get toilet roll for this little skeleton, and because basically there was a skeleton in this little pit, and he lifted his hand out and he was like, I need some toilet roll. So you go and get some toilet roll, and when you give him the toilet roll, he then gives you the thing, and he basically just has a shit, and then you leave the house. And I was like, this is just really funny. Like it's stupid, but it's just really funny, and I just genuinely enjoyed it. I've not seen myself doing that in any of the Zelda games so far, where I'm actively like enjoying the side quests and the random NPCs and dialogue. So I don't know, like props to Capcom, I guess. I just think they did a really good job with it.
We did not have
It's not props to Capcom because it's in Majora's Mask first.
What a shitting skeleton?
No, it's not a skeleton, but it's a guy in a toilet and his hand is coming out and he's like, I need toilet roll. And then you give him the toilet roll.
Skyward Sword.
He goes, right? Yeah!
Skyward Sword, right? Skyward Sword.
No, it's in
Is that
Majora's Mask.
I'm sure there's a hand that lives in a toilet in Skyward Sword. I'm almost
probably. It's been a year since I played Skyward Sword all over.
Yeah. God, it's been that long.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't have a shitting skeleton or anything like that. We had our own trading quest where there was like hot lava soup and stuff we needed to trade.
Yeah, I only did half of it.
Oh, I will say as well,
guide said.
Like the trading quest as well in this game, I thought was a lot better than A Link to the Past. I felt like it was a lot easier. Like it was very straightforward on what to do and where to go with the item. It wasn't cryptic at all, which I did enjoy. It made my life a lot easier.
Did your guide like lead you all the way down the trading sequence?
I believe so, but I was only looking at it if like I messed up for some reason and I went where I wasn't meant to go.
No. The one for seasons, it only took you halfway down it, and then it just gives you because the reason you do the trading quest is so a Deku scrub will give you directions in the Lost Woods, so you can go get the Noble Sword. And well, the guy took us halfway down the trading quest and then stopped at Lost Woods and said, "Right, these are directions."
Right. Okay.
I still went back and did it. I went back and did all the trading quests just to get all the dialogue and stuff like that, but. Yeah, it's kind of I don't feel rewarded for doing it.
Yeah.
That's all. But yeah, no, I'm the same. I really like the story. It's like I said, I really do want to play Ages because it seems like it is genuinely different, and I want to get that final boss.
Yeah, I don't understand what people were chatting about saying it's basically the same game. From everything I've seen, it's nothing alike in the slightest. Like, it genuinely is just a different game, and I don't get... Because I read so many things, because I was like, I wanted to know, like, the sitch.
Yeah, if it was worth even playing both.
And literally so many people said it... Like, you can play both of them, but you're not really missing I don't play the other. But I feel like it's an entirely different experience.
Yeah, well,
like,
it's all different dungeons, it's different bosses, it's different items from what I've seen. Like everything seems different, and what was really good, like, especially still talking about the story, is that like Capcom made a really good decision in like if someone was only going to play one of the games, that they've got their own brand new villain to face, like Onyx and can't remember the name of yours. But then if like for the like proper like big Zelda fans who wanted to play both of them, at that point you fight Twin Rover and Ganon, and that's really cool. It just like it's a reward for like sticking with it and doing everything. So let's get down to our favourite, shall we? So we need a favourite and least favourite dungeon.
Right, well, I'm just going to get out of the way because you two could discuss more. Like I said, when I say this, it's not going to mean anything to you.
Yeah. It gives me something to look forward to. And
my favourite dungeon was probably... so I'll say the last one, but I don't actually mean the last one. Because the last one for me was the Black Tower, but it's not really a dungeon. You just go up the tower to get to the boss. Yeah. The one before that is called the Ancient Tomb, and I think that was by far the best one. It did a great thing that all Zelda games should do, where it actually made you use all your items for the final dungeon.
Yeah.
You used all the stuff you'd accumulated. It had a bunch of really hard rooms with some tough puzzles, but like fair puzzles. There was a really cool like system where you had to collect these 4 stone plates to open this golden door at the start of the dungeon. But one of the fun things they did is they let you get these stone plates in any order you wanted. You didn't have to do it in a specific order, which again thought was very fun for a Zelda game, because usually it's very, very straightforward. You need to get this to do that, to do that. So I did enjoy that, and it also had one of my favorite bosses. It had a boss with like 5 different phases in it, and it was really, really intense. So I think the Ancient Tomb was by far my favorite one. I think my least favorite one was Jabu Jabu's Belly. It was one of 2 water dungeons in this game, which upset me a little bit because water dungeons suck ass. But I'll give credit to it. The other water dungeon was actually semi-enjoyable. I didn't hate it. But I don't know about you guys. Well, I guess you did get it. You obviously, I assume, got the mermaid leg thing, right? The mermaid shoes.
We get Zora flippers.
So yeah, when you got the mermaid suit, so I assume the Zora flippers, did that let you control the swimming like completely? Because
it just allows you to swim.
Yeah.
So like for me, when you could first swim, you could only, it was like you had to mash A, and it would let you, and you controlled the D-pad where you wanted to go. But when you got the mermaid suit, it's the mermaid suit. I keep calling it the wrong thing. Mermaid suit. The way you then moved in the water is you no longer held A because it wanted you to be able to use an item while you were swimming. So the way you moved is you had to like double tap the D-pad in the direction you wanted to go, and it was really fucking jarring to me because I couldn't get used to the fact that I couldn't press a button while I was doing it. Once you got used to it, it made it a lot easier to swim because you could like perfectly fine tune where you wanted to go and how you wanted to do it. But it took a lot of getting used to, and they gave it you just before the first water dungeon, so it made it a bit more of a hassle than I think it needed to be. But once you got used to it, it was relatively fine. But yeah, Jabba Jabba's belly, I didn't really like. It was like half water dungeon, half not, and I just didn't really like switching between the two constantly. And I thought the boss at the end was quite mediocre. And it's just a sort of a thing with Zelda games in general. I think most of the water dungeons are usually just not a great time for me personally. But it was all right. The other water level was fine. Jabba Jabba's belly was quite mid. Ancient Tomb, best one for me by far.
Okay, so just before we go on to Alex, so we know that Seasons is more combat focused and Ages is more puzzle focused. So did you feel that the combat was quite easy in Ages?
I wouldn't say easy. I mean, for like the main enemies, I did what I just do in most Zelda games, which is just sort of brute force it and just like I don't really care if I take a ton of damage. I just smack shit
just
as
tank
fast
it.
as I can, and go through it. There were a couple enemies that caused me like hassle, just because they had really like odd attack patterns, and I found it very difficult to dodge a lot of the time. I'd say the most difficult the combat ever became was the mini bosses and the bosses. I honestly wouldn't call any of the bosses in this game easy, other than like maybe one of them. I thought they were all quite challenging in their own way, but I never felt like the combat was unfair, especially with the bosses. I thought they were all designed incredibly well. Um, and considering it was a game focused on puzzles, I think they implemented that really well into the boss fights, because a lot of the boss fights, although it essentially comes down to you just need to end up smacking them a certain amount of times. I feel like they implement puzzle mechanics into the bosses enough that it fits the whole theme of the game, um, which I thought was quite fun. But yeah, the combat wise, outside of the bosses, I never thought it was that like unfair. No, I thought it was like no harder than like a Link to the Past or anything. Is
Yeah.
basically the best I can say. Yeah.
Okay, fair play. So Alex, favorite and least favorite dungeon?
Okay, so I've got two for my least favorite.
Oh,
Um, I know it's a great start. The first one is the Dancing Dragon dungeon because I really disliked a lot of the water parts in that.
Yeah.
And also combine that with minecarts was not fun. I don't want to be riding a minecart around the entire level.
No.
It was it because it would just take you through like seven different rooms, and then you'd accidentally like hit the wrong switch or something, so then you have to go back. Not a fun time.
Can I say something real quick?
And
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
go
I just
ahead.
wanted to say as well, I also appreciate in this game that you don't have a fucking mana bar. There's a bunch of items that definitely would have had a mana bar in A Link to the Past that
Oh
didn't in
yeah,
this, and it
definitely.
made my life much easier. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
That's all right. And I can't remember which one it was. I was trying to find it. Oh, it's this one, Ancient Ruins as well. The sliding puzzle, the circle puzzles, Oliver, where you
Yeah.
have to like go on it, then you have to go find a different way to get to this circle to just rotate it to a different way. It just made the dungeon longer for no reason when it could have just been like a straight path. That wasn't a good time. My favorite was probably the unicorn cave because I really liked the item that you got in it, and the puzzles that incorporated with that item made it amazing. I don't know if you agree, Oliver, with the magnetic glove.
So yeah, I do agree with that to a degree, and we'll get onto that when we talk about the items.
Yep.
So my least favorite is Snake's Remains for the exact same reason that the what was the second one you said? Ancient Ruins is yours because it was the
Yeah.
first dungeon to introduce the turntable, where
Yeah.
you got to go on it and it turns you a certain way, and then if you go back
Yeah,
down, it doesn't. So let's say in the first instance you come at it from the left, it'll turn clockwise. If you go back down, it won't continue to turn clockwise. It'll go
yeah, I'll go
back
back. Yeah,
anti-clockwise. It's
I had a
really
couple of those.
really annoying because you've got to search through the dungeon, go try to find another way down to this turntable. And again, it is just artificial game length, and it doesn't feel like I've succeeded in solving something by getting back down to it. It just feels like I'm just going through the same rooms over and over again. So my favorite, it wasn't really a dungeon per se, but my favorite was Onyx's Castle. Onyx's Castle, the final one. It looked
Three
really cool.
rooms.
It was 3 rooms.
That's why it's his favorite.
Maybe I like it. That's why I like it so fast. But I don't know. The bosses, I'm not really rating on the bosses, but it looks really cool. It was like the atmosphere in there was really good. I really liked it.
Wait, so you brought it up. Is the combat hard in your game, man?
I'd say
Or did you find it more
certainly can be hard. Like
Yeah.
yes, especially when we're getting like towards the final boss. That is just rock solid. It is bad news. So favorite and least favorite item. Let's go back to ages with Lewis.
Honestly, it's difficult here because I didn't find any of the items to be too thrilling. Did you guys had the rings in your game also, right?
Rings?
Yeah.
What rings?
Yeah, they were like equipable rings.
Yeah, and I didn't until I started getting the really good ones. I didn't really equip them.
Well, no, yeah, I was about to say I didn't use any of them until literally before the last boss because I got a ring that half the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just put that on. But yeah, I was just wondering if you had those. But my favorite items, probably, honestly, this is a really shit item, but I don't know. I just kind of liked it. It was a seed that made you really fast. I can't remember what it was called.
Pegasus seed.
Yeah, the Pegasus seed. I actually found that quite fun. I was using that even outside of the areas where I didn't have to use it, just because it made me run really fast, and it made stuff a lot easier. And I also enjoyed the Moosh's flute, where you could shoot. Wait, no, is it that one? No, it was no. I'm not forgetting the wrong thing. I'm just thinking of the seed shooter, but specifically the wind one, which shot out tornadoes. Did you have that one?
Slingshot.
No.
It was a slingshot. But
No. I had a seed. So I had a seed shooter,
right.
but one of the seeds was like a tornado seed.
Right. So it would have been. So it would have been a slingshot for us, Alex. It's a slingshot because we shot seeds with the slingshot. I never.
Oh right.
I never shot a tornado out of it though. I assume I could.
Tornado one was great. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, you could shoot at enemies, and it would when it hit them, it would travel in that direction, and it would take up any enemies that it hit in that line.
Oh damn.
And I just found that to be quite fun. My least favorite item, probably just the power glove, because the power glove is just the upgrade to the power bracelet, but it does that thing where it gives you way too late. It gives you like at the very, very end, and you use it to pick up like one rock, and then it's like right, it was a wasted item, I guess.
That's interesting because we didn't get an upgrade to the power bracelet.
No.
Oh really?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, it wasn't overly worth it. You got it to pick up like one rock at the very end.
Yeah.
Right.
It might be more prevalent in a Link's game.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
There's a lot of upgrades I think you get when you link the games together.
It's probably all the upgrades then.
Yeah. I know you get the Master Sword if you link the games together.
You do get the Master Sword. Outside of that, yeah, all the items were pretty much bog standard. There wasn't anything like super unique. I mean, the switch hook was fun, like it always is.
The what?
Oh, you didn't have it. So basically, it's kind of like the
claw shot.
Yeah, the claw shot, except it swaps you with the item that you shoot at.
Oh, no.
So, for example, there was like if there's a chest on a platform on the other side. Well, actually, no, not a chest, a barrel. You can shoot the switch shot at it, and it will swap places with the barrel and you. So they use it in a lot of puzzles. Where there was these little diamonds, and there was like little triggers on the floor that you had to stand on top of to make it activate. So you had to like maneuver this diamond around the room so that you could get it to swap with you and the diamond, so that the diamond could be on the switch, and then the door would open. I found that to be quite fun, but it's basically just like the claw shot, except you swap with something. Basically, that's basically what it is, and you do get an upgraded version of that where it just gets longer. That was kind of fun, but again, it's an item we see pretty much in every Zelda game. Not too much different in this, I don't think.
Okay. Did you give it your least favorite then?
Yeah, it was the power glove. Just a bit, like I said, he gave it too late, and you just used it in the last dungeon, and it was,
Alex.
So my favorite was the magnetic glove. Did you have the magnetic glove, Lewis?
I did not have I had the power glove, no magnetic glove.
Magnetic glove, it made puzzles actually really fun. So there was these statues around which had S's on, so that would be for south and north. So you would use it to propel yourself across like gaps and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you go in south, you would use the magnetic glove to shoot yourself over gaps, and if you
Okay.
needed to get over to back over there, you would switch it to north, and then you'd bring yourself over. So there would be these spinning platforms in the middle of like chasms where you would connect yourself to it. It would spin round, and then you'd have to propel yourself off again.
Yeah.
So I really liked that aspect of it. Another one which I really liked was the Rock's Cape.
Yeah.
So it
Didn't
was
have
just the
that.
upgraded Rock's Feather, where it was just the
Oh,
cape.
yeah, so I had the Rock's Feather, but I didn't get the cape.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, right,
it
okay.
just extends your jump, but like
Yeah.
lets you climb.
And the magical boomerang as well was really good because it was just basically you could just control the boomerang.
Yeah.
And that was fun just to think. And it insta killed quite a lot of the annoying enemies as
Yeah,
well.
no, it did.
So like the big bubble things which would like travel around like the corners of the room, it would insta kill those.
Yeah.
Least favorite? I don't know.
Did I change my least favorite item?
Go for it.
Go
I
for
just
it.
realized because I didn't use it the entire game. Both shields. Like I didn't use the shield the entire game. I did not get it out a single time
I feel like I did, but I can't remember what for.
because honestly, I forgot that she was in the game, so I just saw it in the item list. Then I didn't
It
use
was
it
the
a single time.
spiky enemies all over
Spiky enemies,
that
yeah.
would like run into us. We'd have to
Oh
like
yeah.
flip them over.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
Beatles.
Could you not use the shovel for that?
Yeah, we
That's
could
what I
do.
did.
Could do, yeah, but I prefer to use the shield.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight with a shovel. I'm not a shovel knight.
Yes. Least favorite is probably the hyper slingshot, just because all it was just an upgrade to the slingshot. It just shot three.
Yeah.
I didn't really use it apart from like the puzzles
Yeah,
that it was
it
needed
was
for.
used for like 3 puzzles and then that was it.
Yeah.
In one specific dungeon. So my favorite is also the magnetic gloves for the exact same reasons that you said, but one downside to them is they facilitate the worst enemies in the game.
Yeah.
So the little magnet guys that you need to attract towards you, honestly, they're so annoying. I lost so much health to those because you can
Yeah,
attract
they
them
just
towards you, so you can hit them with a sword. But as soon as you let go of that button, they fuck off again. So really, what you want to be doing is trapping them in corners. But then they'll change the polarity from north to south. So then as they're close to you, they'll just shoot away again. It's really annoying. Did not like that at all. And my worst is probably the flute for the animals. So the Dodongo flute, whatever it was called. Used it maybe twice, and then you got the Rock's Feather, and it become completely and utterly useless.
It does actually, yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah,
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
Like they build it up a lot as well, and then you get your animal. You speak to Ricky, and then you get your actual animal, and you use him for a few screens, and that's it.
Yeah, you just made me realize I didn't use my animals when I got to choose the animal.
No.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What was the point?
But for us at least, we had to use the Dodongo for a few screens just to get him. I think could he swim? Is that what the Dodongo could do?
Yeah, he could swim.
Yeah,
He could
he could
swim.
Before we, oh, it was before we had the Zora flippers,
Zora
and then
flippers,
we literally got the Zora flippers like 4 screens later.
Yeah, and that was it. No more Dodongo.
It's when we got to that flooded town.
Yep. Exactly. That's what it was. Oh yeah, of course it was. It was the flooded city.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was mine. So finally, favorite and least favorite boss. Let's go with Lewis again. Let's go back to ages.
Honestly, boneless answer.
The final boss.
But I think my favorite boss was the final boss. It was a really long boss fight. It took me about 15 minutes, like from start to finish. She had a lot of phases. A horrible woman. It was a bit annoying, like story-wise, because you beat her, and then she was like, "I'm back," and then you beat her again, and she was like, "I'm back," and then you beat her a third time, and then she's actually gone. But the third fight in particular is really, really good. Like the first phase, you're just smacking her, and there's some dark links around the room, and they like mimic what you do. But it's relatively simple. You just smack her in the center of the room. The second phase is again similar, but she comes at you a bit more. The third phase is really fun. It's where it switches it up a lot because she starts turning into 3 different animals. So she turns into a turtle, I think, a bee, and something else that I can't remember. And basically, every time she transforms, you have to completely switch up what you're doing. You have to change the items that you've got out, and you have to start tackling them from a different way because you can only damage them if you do a specific thing. Like for the turtle, you have to wait for it to like ground pound down, and then you can hit her head when she pops it out. When she's like not the bee but the other one, you have to. Oh, it's a spider. you have to throw a bomb at her, and she traps the bomb in her hands, and it blows up in her face, and you can attack her. I just thought that was very, very fun. But I will also give props to the Chapter 8 boss as well. It's like this. It's the king of all like Nintendo games. It was a boss with like floating hands and like a floating head. And it had like
Sick.
four phases, and it was just a really intense and difficult boss fight. But I think those two were by far my favorite. I honestly, I think all of the bosses in this game are great. I don't think there was like a massive stinker. I think they were all very, very fun and unique. And again, and with the mini bosses as well, like usually the mini bosses are quite garbage in like most Zelda games. I'm not gonna lie. I actually enjoyed most of them in this one. Like they were never like anything insane, but I thought they were fun enough, and they actually thought about it a little bit. So honestly, huge props to like all the boss designs for like this game. I thought they did a really, really good job, and I think it's probably overall the best bosses out of all the Zelda games I've played so far. In terms of like all of them, I think it's by far the best bosses as like a whole.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we can't really comment because we
Yeah,
haven't
you can't.
played it.
Yeah, we
I mean, you
can.
comment about your own games. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how good your bosses were overall. But
So I think we had a couple of stinkers. I think
We had a couple of stinkers.
Well, just talk about the mini bosses. So for start, so the face. I can't remember what the guy what it was called. It was the face that appeared in the middle of the floor, and it was literally just drop bombs on his face. That was it. That was the entire boss fight.
That was similar to another Zelda game. I think it might have been Four Swords, maybe,
Yeah.
where there was just a face on the floor and just threw bombs at it. That was literally the boss.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad impressed by it at all. But yeah, we'll get on to the actual bad bosses. So your favorite and worst, please, Alex.
I'll go with the worst. The Dark Dragon at the end. It took me about hour and a half, 2 hours to actually beat it because it was so difficult. Right, Lewis, you don't know this, so I'll explain it. So the boss, so you fight Onox first. Really easy. He's just a suit of armor. All you have to do is basically you hit Din with the Rod of Seasons to get her out of the way, and then you just have to spin attack him pretty much.
He uses her as a shield, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the floor like collapses, and then you land down, and then the Dark Dragon appears, and you have to jump on his hands with the roc's cape. And then he lifts his hands up, and you have to jump and then hit his crystal on his forehead, and then you jump down, and then he starts shooting either red fire or blue fire at you. So the blue fire, like when it lands, it stays. So you have to like pick a side pretty much, and then he will randomly just like shoot loads of blue fire, and then he'll randomly just smash his hand down. But sometimes you can't jump on the hand, and then the fire will disappear, and then it'll shoot red fire at you, which is massive balls of fire, which will probably more than likely hit you. And then there's sometimes where he'll lift his hand up when you're on it, and then he'll just twist it, and then you just get hurt for no reason, even though you've just jumped on his hand. It was quite annoying, really.
Just to help you visualize it a bit, Lewis, it's a side-scrolling boss.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not top
Yeah.
down. It's side-scrolling.
Oh yeah, that would have probably helped us.
yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't
Sounds
fun. It just took ages because he had random attack patterns, so it wouldn't be the same thing every single time. So sometimes he smash his hand down, sometimes he'll smash his hand down and then just shoot blue fire at you. It was annoying. Favorite boss, on the other hand, is probably Gleok, which was the dragon.
Yeah, the three-headed.
Yeah, the three-headed dragon. He was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my favorite was the Dark Dragon.
You're a fucking madman.
No, I really enjoy. I like the fact that it was a side-scrolling boss. I like final bosses where it's basically essentially. Obviously, you got the Rock's cape on, but let's not count that because it's just a jump button. But when it's just you and your sword, and it's like it does take like quite a. You have to build the skill up because you have to hit him with a spin attack. Like you have to jump and then do a spin attack to hit the.
You didn't have to.
Like, would have taken me 4 times longer if I didn't.
That's
probably
why.
I disagree with you slightly because there is a pattern to his attacks. There is. I just don't know because it's just the way I was doing it. I was essentially cheating. I was just doing save states. But
Well, that's cheating.
well,
Because you just know what's coming.
no, don't be silly. The thing is, you fight Onox first, and the way I fought Onox, because I thought I'd get a fairy. I thought I'd get a fairy when I beat him, was to tank him, because he just swings his ball around. It's almost impossible to avoid. So I took a lot of damage. I ended up in that final boss fight with the Dark Dragon with 4 hearts. And I wasn't doing Onox again. That wasn't happening. So yeah, save state my way through it. But a lot of the attack, it's not perfect. A lot of the attacks are really hard to avoid. So if he's moving his hand across the bottom of the stream, he's doing a sweep. If you just pick a side, that's fine. You just equip Pegasus seeds and run. But the red, no, it wasn't the red fire. It was the blue fireballs. The ones that stay where they are difficult to jump over. Yeah, really, really difficult. I took damage a lot just from trying to jump over them when they are stationary. Plus, he's still firing blue fireballs at you, and he usually he aims for where you're going to be rather than where you are. It is difficult. Yeah. But I enjoyed the way it looked. I enjoyed. It felt really good when I actually beat him. Even though I was save state, it took a long time to do. It was really difficult.
It was a long fight.
Yeah, and my least favorite one was Manhandler, which you remember, Alex, he is a plant with 4 heads.
Oh, he's a bastard.
That took me long. That took me twice. Twice as long.
It was bad as well because of the room that we were in, where it was literally just like. Basically the floor was like quicksand, pretty much. Like it was sending you to the center.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, shout out to all the other terrible bosses in the game. So Aquamentus is basically just like a unicorn, like dragon thing. It died in like 4 hits. The Dongo, all you did was throw him on some spikes with the power bracelet.
Yeah, that was really easy.
Mothula died in like 4 hits. Yeah. It was just a big moth. Goma was just a crab with a massive claw.
That was weird. Though. Why? Isn't Goma supposed to be a spider?
Yeah, Goma's meant to be like a weird, like arachnid.
Yeah, no, it was like a crab that looked really small as well. It wasn't even like a big crab, with just one massive claw.
Yeah. Dig Dogger, which was just Big Eye Boss.
Yeah, a Big Eye Boss standard.
And then the only other one we haven't mentioned is Medusa Head.
Yeah, I can't remember Medusa Head. I can't remember what it did. Did it freeze you? I feel like it froze you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there weren't amazing, but like I said, so Manhandler was by far, like you say, it was quicksand all throughout the room, and you had to constantly avoid his projectiles while also shooting him with projectiles, all while not being able to stand still because of the
well, that was the thing though, because they wanted you to use the magic boomerang with it, but the magic boomerang required you to be still, to actually control it. So you would be getting hit while you're controlling the boomerang.
Yeah, I can't remember if I used the boomerang or I used the catapult, the slingshot. I can't remember what I used, but it took a lot anyway.
Boomerang.
Boomerang might have been a better shout, to be honest with you, because I kept running out of ammo.
That's probably why.
Yeah. So yeah, Manhandler was very bad.
Did you like the bosses more than A Link to the Past?
I can't honestly. The issue is I struggle to with these 2D games. I struggle to remember the bosses.
Yeah.
I really do struggle.
I don't know. They're probably on like the same level, I'd say.
Yeah.
They're not great in seasons. I'll tell you that.
It's just after playing Oracle of Ages, I really don't get why everyone talks about A Link to the Past so much. When I just think overall this is just a way better game.
It's just nostalgia glasses.
I feel like it has to be, or there's something that I'm not seeing. I don't know what it is. But this game, I wish more people would talk about this game. I feel like this is more deserving of being spoken about. But maybe a lot of people didn't play it.
Yeah,
because it was on Game Boy.
I think a lot of it is again like why people talk about Ocarina of Time and not Twilight Princess.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because it's simply because it came first.
Yeah,
that was it. It was so Link to the Past was the first Zelda game that was coherent. It kind of thing.
No.
After Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 on the NES, it was the first one to like be a fully cohesive package kind of thing, like definitely playable all the way through. Well, this is. I personally think it's objectively better, like in every way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So final question of the podcast then, before we wrap it up, do we think these games deserve a remake?
100%.
Deserve a remake? Yes. Need a remake?
One?
No, need one? I don't think so. No.
You don't think it needs it?
I think if they released that on Switch, it would be perfectly playable. I don't think the resources need to be put in to remake that game. There's some stuff that would be nice if they changed it. Like, for example, like I said, just like the whole inventory system, because it's limited by buttons, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever experienced because the game was designed around it and it never forced you to switch that much where it was like really annoying. If they made one, I'd think it'd be cool. I just don't think it's necessary. I think the game's perfectly playable and holds up if you had a way to play it or access it. That's what I think personally.
Yeah, I just want to disagree. It's like, so I don't in some seasons you are changing items almost constantly.
Right.
Almost constantly. Like there's many points in the game where you need to equip both Pegasus Seeds and the Rock's Feather at once.
There was a couple of those. Yeah, there was a couple of those for me for sure. But like, it wasn't standout where I was like, this is ruining the game. I was just like, this is a bit.
It didn't ruin it all. The thing is, you got to go into the game expecting these things to happen.
Yeah.
Because it was limited by having 2 buttons on the face of the console.
Yeah.
That was it.
I'll say that if they somehow remade it in a package where it was both games in one and you get the full thing, yes, I think that would be perfectly fine. If they remade it and remade both of them and you had to buy them separately, which is a Nintendo thing to do, then no, fuck off. Like no, zero chance. But that's a very Nintendo thing.
Yeah, it needs to be the case if it gets remade that where you play one of them and then it's like, right, here's like the linked version, like this is like the other version. Because there's no, it just seems annoying to me to be having to play. You've got to play Seasons, and then you've got to play the linked version of Ages, and then you've got to play the normal version of Ages, and then the linked version of Seasons. Like, why is there not just like one? There should, if it does get remade, it should just be play our Seasons, play Ages, and then play the mixed version.
I don't think you'd have to replay it that many times because you'd only have. For the linked part, you'd only have to do that once.
If they're following the timeline version of it, it should just be Seasons and Ages. That should be it. Seasons and linked Ages. But
and then it should be like final dungeon. Yeah, like that should be like the final part.
Yeah,
I know. I understand because we said this in the last podcast. Why this one hasn't been remade, but Link's Awakening did get remade. I think I understand more now why that one got remade.
Yeah.
Out of like the 2 choices, I think that was a much smarter game to remake. Because like I said, I think this game just doesn't need it. And wasn't Link's Awakening on the original Game Boy?
It was.
It was on the original, and then it got a color remake.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think overall it made more sense to remake Link's Awakening than this one personally.
I think like A Link to the Past still is higher up the list for needing to be remade than this.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure,
definitely. But still, I just still crossing my fingers that they're going to announce a remake of Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 in the next few months before we have to play them.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't because not to say they should use the Link's Awakening engine for stuff, but I thought like a Zelda 1 would work really well in that engine.
So the issue is with that, in order to make it a modern game, they're going to have to rewrite it. They're going to have to add a story in.
That is true.
Because otherwise,
and they'd also have to put stuff in it. So they'd have to like put NPCs or like dialogue or like clues on how to figure stuff out. Because if they just remade the game 1 for 1. People would still have no clue how to.
They won't have any clue what to do. There's nothing anywhere in that game. There's the only NPCs that I know of are ones inside caves. And it's always the same old man. It's boneless. So if they got to remake it, they need to remake it properly, like actually properly.
Yeah.
But that's it. I think for this episode of Hyrulean Chronicles. So the next game we'll be playing will be Link's Awakening. Now we don't know when. Like I know I say this every episode, but we don't know when this is going to be because we're going to be playing a few games in the background. Now.
Yeah,
I think we're going to be doing these kind of out of order, but releasing the episodes in order. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I do want to play Ages at some point in the next couple of weeks. And we got Link's Awakening, which is the next episode. We got Triforce Heroes. It's all going on all at the same time.
Link Between Worlds as well.
So we're gonna be, but whenever we do Link's Awakening, that'll be the next one up. I imagine it's going to be next month at some point. We're just not.
It'll be next month for sure. Yeah, I just have no clue on.
But other than that, so we've got two more videos this month before the end of July. We've got a tier list for the best UK cartoons, and we've got a video game book club review of Prey. But until next time, we shall see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.